Hello everybody, my name's Mitch and today we're going to do a fight breakdown predictions video for Weili Zhang versus Rose Namajunas. So here's their MMA records. We have Weili Zhang with 21-1 and Rose at 9-4. We have Weili coming out of Hebei, China. She's 31 years old, stands at 64 inches. She weighs 115 pounds, the strawweight division, 63-inch reach, and then a 36-inch leg reach, which would be 3 feet. And then on Thug Rose Namajunas' side, she's coming out of Milwaukee. She is 28 years old, 65 inches in height, 115 pounds, 65 inches for reach, and 39.5-inch leg reach. Similar age, height, same weight. I mean, a lot of similarities physically. Rose has the reach advantage and the leg reach advantage. Obviously, reach always can play a part, and Rose is a great striker. She definitely can circle around the outside, and we'll get into that later. Reach is definitely a weapon for Rose Namajunas. For this breakdown, I'm going to go over the last fights for both fighters. The only fighters involved are Jessica Andrade and Joanna Jędrzejczyk. I have Joanna versus Rose, Rose versus Joanna 2, Rose versus Jessica, Jessica versus Weili, Weili versus Joanna, and then Jessica versus Rose. If you have not really been watching UFC as much, this will kind of be a rundown and a history into the strawweight division as well, which will kind of be cool, and it'll just kind of show why this fight is important. Rose versus Weili, it's kind of a match that I feel like has been in the making for a long time when you look at the strawweight division, but at any rate, let's go ahead and get into it. So I'm going to group Rose versus Joanna 1 and 2 together, and before I get started with talking about how this fight went, I'm going to throw up some stats for Joanna here. She is an amazing kickboxer. She just went on this this is just her UFC win streak, but in the MMA her win streak in MMA at the time, her professional win streak was I think like 14-0 going into this fight. Meanwhile, Rose, she definitely had some respectable wins on her side, but she definitely deserved, maybe that's the wrong word, but the plus 400 underdog tag wasn't necessarily a surprise. Joanna trying to be scary, trying to be the boogie woman, this and that. In the first fight, we see it only lasted 3 minutes. There was an early knockdown. It was shown that Rose could knock Joanna down and hurt her standing on the feet, because coming into it, you would think the tone was kind of that Rose would need to get a takedown and submit to get a win. So they run that one right back because, sometimes the tone can be that it was kind of fluky, In the second fight, Rose showed up and proved that she, it was not a fluke. She did deserve to win the belt the first time. She won the belt the second time, and she honestly solidified herself as just a great straw weight. It was exciting to see how Rose was going to handle the belt. So next we move into Rose versus Jessica. Rose gets done fighting Joanna twice and moves into Jessica. Now, round 1 of this fight was honestly one of my favorite instances of striking in the UFC. Rose was just piecing up Jessica Andrade. She was running around the circle. She was fainting. But anyway, everything was going well round 1. It kind of looked like Rose was winning every interaction of the first round. In round 2, a moment happens again, and then for those of you that have seen it, we all know that Rose gets slammed on her head and she gets knocked out. Jessica becomes the new champion of the division. That was a hard one for me to watch, but it just didn't work out that way. Jessica, won the fight. She got the belt. She left as the strawweight champion that day. Next we have Weili Zhang versus Jessica Andrade, which will be the first fight involving the strawweight championship belt that doesn't involve Joanna or Rose, and it would be short-lived as it is a KO finish for Weili in 42 seconds. Joanna versus Rose 2, that fight took place in April 2018. So I'm going to throw this up here. Taylor Daniel, that's Weili Zhang's UFC debut. And now she's climbed her way up to fight Jessica, for the belt after Jessica had taken it from Rose. So I'll take those stats down. This was a 42-second fight. Weili was throwing leg kicks early. She was throwing a lot of leg kicks. I think she threw 3 in the first 20 seconds, which was half of the fight, and was really strong in the clinch. A lot of elbows, I think a good knee. So that's pretty much what we learned, was that Weili has the ability to leg kick, be patient. She was patient at first, I will give her that, and then in the clinch show a lot of power and just be the aggressor and go for the finish when she sees it. It was a crazy fight. The next fight we're going to go ahead and analyze is Weili versus Joanna. This was a stand-up fight pretty much the whole time. Joanna is an amazing striker. We know that she's a good striker. We know that if you can strike with her for 5 rounds, you must be a good striker as well. Weili goes in and does win 5 rounds. She takes, in my opinion, round 1, 4, and 5. 3 and 4, I guess, in fairness, we're kind of leaning towards Weili, in my opinion. 2, I will say, was leaning toward Joanna, in my opinion. Boom. Was born. At the end of the 3rd round, Weili seems to hit Joanna's forehead, and we see it kind of start. Round 4 and 5 go on, and she kind of gets hit in the head more throughout. It starts to grow, and honestly, I think it did affect the fight. That's definitely a factor when we think about Weili versus Rose, as she will probably have a power advantage, I would say. That's how this fight went. Weili defended her title. She is still the champion. Last but not least, we have Jessica versus Rose 2. Remember the last time we saw this fight, Jessica slams Rose onto the ground after Rose is winning on the feet. And I feel like both fighters made pretty good adjustments. Jessica made a good adjustment in that she knew she was kind of definitely losing on the feet and getting pieced up in the first fight. So in the second fight, she definitely comes in. She's doing a lot of weird head movement. If you've seen Jessica fight, you kind of know what I'm talking about. She's just bobbing back and forth. Rose, she came in with some good adjustments as well. I feel like she slowed it down a little bit, and she threw a lot of knees up the middle. That was a big emphasis. The corner work of Rose Namajunas' team with Trevor and Pat Berry, they're both just hollering to her, and the communication just seems really strong and solid. There was a point when they were showing the corner conversations, and Pat talks about how Rose ran 800 miles. Now that's something I respect. That's a lot of miles. I do think Weili has the cardio as well. We see her go 5 rounds with Joanna, and that was a crazy fight. Rose won maybe all 3 rounds in my opinion, but she definitely won round 1 and 2, I thought. Rose, threw some knees. She was better on the feet, and she is good on the ground, but we don't really see it. Decision to Rose Namajunas. So I feel like the biggest takeaways are Weili's power, Rose's stand-up. My pick is going to be Rose Namajunas. I think this reach is gonna play a factor in the fight with Weili versus Joanna. The one thing is Weili looked kind of short in the limb department. She was going forward, using heavy strikes and hitting Joanna, and it was impacting more than when Joanna was hitting Weili. And I think that will be similar for this fight as well. But I really don't think Rose is going to get hit as much, and I also think Rose is going to hit Weili more. And they might not even do as much impact as Joanna's. Maybe not as much physical damage, but might sting more because Weili might not see them coming as much. Joanna and Weili, a lot of it was I felt like they could see it coming, and they were just kind of just being gritty and tough, and you give one, I'll give one. But I feel like Rose is going to be a different game. I think it's going to be a great fight. I'm excited to see feints and distance from Rose, and if it goes to the ground, I'm excited to see what goes there. Honestly, if Weili gets Rose on the ground, I could see her kind of laying and praying, and clinch I could see go to Weili as well, clinch exchanges, but I just think Rose is going to be able to keep her distance, maybe even get a submission. I mean, knock him down, take the back, choke him out. You know how Thug Rose does it. Thank you for watching this video. Please leave a comment and tell me what you think. And definitely subscribe. That's the most important thing. If you like videos like this, I try to make content pretty often enough, and I would super appreciate it if you take the time to subscribe to the channel. It is free. I'm excited for this fight. Again, let me know what you guys think. Hit me up on the other platforms. I will see you guys Saturday. Peace.